Hi my angels, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I would discuss the chapter All Summer in a Day. So let's get started. I'll begin reading from page 107. Douglas Bradbury, he is the writer of this story. Douglas Bradbury was an American fantasy, science fiction, horror and mystery fiction author. This is very important for MCQs. They can ask you he's from which ethnic group. He's an American. He writes fantasy, means imaginative tales. Science fiction, it is sci-fi, which the story All Summer in a Day is. Horror and mystery fiction author. His short story All Summer in a Day is set on the planet Venus. So the setting of the story is on planet Venus, and describes in vivid detail, means in great detail, the day when the planet experiences sunshine. On this planet for 7 years there is no sunshine. It incessantly keeps raining there. The scene is set in a school where the teacher and children await the appearance of the sun. So they all are desperately waiting for the sun to appear after 7 years. We living in Himachal can understand that it's very difficult to live without sun, because we at times don't see sun for 7 to 8 days. So it's very difficult. And for them it is 7 years. So it's very difficult, even more difficult than we feel it is. The story explores the darker side of human nature. This is what the story is about. It hints that humans at times become too evil. Human nature that is manifest even in children, and it can be seen, this cruelty, this harsh behavior can be seen even in innocent children as they pick on Margot. Now Margot is the protagonist of the story. She's a young girl. They pick on Margot simply because they see her as different from them. Like we human beings, we differentiate, we have some prejudices against somebody because they are different from us. Similarly, these children are also not different. They also pick on Margot just because she was different from them. Bradbury's tale ends on a note of hope. So there is hope for betterment, that children would become better. There is hope that we would become more considerate towards others who are somehow different from us. As the children seem to feel shame and remorse means sadness, dejection, for their thoughtlessness. Now let's see why it is called thoughtlessness. All Summer in a Day, before we begin with this, you must understand that this story is a science fiction. At times it is also called sci-fi. What is science fiction now? Any story which deals with unrealistic life, like people going to live on planet Venus. Now this Venus is a planet which does not sustain life. It cannot support life. Therefore it is sci-fi. The story deals with advancement in technologies. There is life set on Venus. It is an advancement in technology. Therefore it is a sci-fi. Very important question from a subjective point of view. Why is this story called a science fiction? You should prepare your answer beforehand. You should write a definition of what is science fiction first. You can note down, science fiction is a story which is based on imagined future, scientific or technological advances, frequently portraying space or time travel and life on other planets. This can be the beginning for the answer, that is, how is All Summer in a Day a science fiction? You can begin by defining science fiction. I'll begin reading the chapter. Ready? It begins with an event. Somebody is asking, are you ready? Ready. Everybody says, yes, we are ready. Now? Soon. Something is going to happen now? Somebody says soon. Do the scientists really know? Will it happen today? Will it? So somebody is asking that, do scientists really know what is going to happen? Now actually they are expecting the sun to appear after 7 years as it is predicted by the scientists. So they are saying, do the scientists scientists really know? Will it happen today? Will it? Look, look, see for yourself. Somebody says you should see for yourself. You should just satisfy your curiosity, your own self. The children pressed to each other. Pressed means they were crowded. They were standing very close to each other like so many roses. So it is a simile. Now figures of speech are important. They can ask you in MCQs. The children are compared to roses. So many weeds, means roses and weeds. Roses, just like they grow between the or in the midst of unwanted plants, weeds, intermixed. They are mingled together. Peeringly means looking curious out for a look at the hidden sun. They want to see the hidden sun. Why hidden? Because for now it is not clearly appeared. It is somewhere behind the clouds. It rained. It was still raining. It had been raining for 7 years. So this place, here it was raining for 7 years. Thousands upon thousands of days compounded and filled from one end to the other with rain. The rain was so much that one end to the other end was completely filled with rainwater. With the drum and gush of water, drum and gush means the noise and the flow of water, with the sweet crystal fall of showers. So there was incessant rainfall, one drop after the other. It looked like crystal fall of showers. They are compared to crystals basically. And the concussion. Concussion means the heavy blow of the wind that is felt on the head. Concussion of storms so heavy. They were tidal waves come over the island. So there is a metaphor that the storms are compared to tidal waves. These tidal waves are large ocean waves which are very high in intensity. 1,000 forests had been crushed under the rain and grown up 1,000 times to be crushed again. 1,000 forests means the forests had grown on planet Venus thousands of times, and because of excessive rainfall. So if we water plants too frequently or more than the required amount, it is going to get damp, it is going to lose its freshness. Okay, so they are saying the forests also grew thousands of times, and they were spoiled by the rainfall, incessant rainfall thousands of times. They were crushed because of the rainfall thousands of times. And this was the way life was forever on planet Venus. This was how life was on planet Venus. It was torrential kind of environment, or we can say climate. And this was the school room of the children. So this is the setting on planet Venus. The whole scene is taking place in a school room of the children of the rocket men and women. Now rocket men and women, they can ask you who are these people. In the next line they have answered, who had come to a reigning world, means who had come to planet Venus to set up civilization, means to set up a different human society, different human community, and live out their lives. And they wanted to live out their lives there. It is stopping, somebody said. Somebody said that the rain is at least diminishing in its intensity with which it used to fall. Yes. Margot stood apart from them. She was standing aloof from everybody else. Now, this raises curiosity that why she was standing aloof, why she was alienated from these children who were already on planet Venus, could ever remember a time. They could not remember or recall the time when there wasn't rain and rain and rain. They can't recall any time when they have not seen rain on planet Venus. Actually, Margot was brought to planet Venus, 2 years after the other children. Okay, whereas these children have always been on planet Venus, right? So Margot had the memories of sun, whereas these children had no memory of sun. They were all 9 years old. So the children, except Margot, all were 9 years old. For MCQs it is important. And if there had been a day, it means if there was a single day, 7 years back, when sun came out for an hour, when some sun had appeared for 1 hour time span, and showed its face on the stunned world, and it had shown to the people of this world who had never seen sun. They could not recall. Now 2 years child cannot recall the incident. So similarly these children were 2 when the sun lastly appeared, and they cannot recall that. Sometimes at night she heard them stir. Now it is about what Margot thought. Now Margot had an idea that these children have the remembrance of sun, and when they sleep, their sleep is perturbed, disturbed because of the memories of the sun. Let's see. She says, sometimes at night, means she thinks actually, she heard them stir, means she was perplexed to understand that these children used to turn sides. They used to move from side to side in remembrance, in the memory of the sun. And she knew they were dreaming and remembering gold. They were dreaming and remembering gold. Now gold is a metaphor used for sun. You should know these figures of speech. A yellow crayon. So the sun is compared to gold, metaphor. Yellow crayon, again a metaphor for sun. Or a coin large enough to buy the world with. And it is compared to a coin which is large enough to buy the world with. So this is again a metaphor. 3 metaphors used for sun. She knew they thought they remembered a warmness. She thought that they remembered the warmness of the sun, like a blushing in the face, like there was blushing on the face, in the body, in the arms and legs and trembling hands. So this was her experience of sun, which she thought the other children also remembered. But then they always awoke to the tatting drum, but reality was that they always woke up to drum and gush of falling rainfall, the rain water. Tatting drum means the sound which is produced when the rain falls. The endless shaking down of clear bead necklaces upon the roof. So the falling of the raindrops is compared. Again, it is a metaphor for rain. Endless shaking down of clear bead necklaces. It felt as if the beads of a necklace were falling down on the roof. The walk, the gardens, the forests and their dreams were gone. So because of this incessant rainfall, the dreams to go for a walk, to go to the gardens, to feel the forests, and all such dreams were in vain. They were shattered. All day yesterday, they had read in class about the sun. So the previous day, the day before when the sun was going to appear, they read about sun. About how like a lemon it was. So again a simile for sun, it is compared to a lemon, and how hot. And they had written small stories or essays or poems about it. So they had written some poems, some stories, some essays related to the sun. I think the sun is a flower. So the sun, the metaphor used for the sun is flower that blooms for just 1 hour. Now this line was written by Margot. That was Margot's poem. So she had compared sun to a flower. Read in a quiet voice in the still classroom while the rain was falling outside. So it was sad that she read it in very hushed tones. Oh, you didn't write that, protested one of the boys. So one of the boys says, you have not written this poem. I did, said Margot. I did. Now as it was something related to sun, she affirmed that she had written it. Why? Because she had memories of sun. But others say she had not written it. Why? Because they didn't have any memory of sun. They were unable to relate to the concept of sun. William, said the teacher. So the teacher somehow snubs the boy named William who was bullying the girl. But that was yesterday. Now the rain was slackening. Slackening means it was slowing down. It was less active. And the children were crushed in the great thick windows. Crushed means they were dumped behind the windows, thick windows. Where's the teacher? She'll be back. So maybe the teacher was missing for a while. Somebody said she's going to come back in a while. She would better hurry. We'll miss it. Children are excited. They say that if she doesn't come, we are going to miss seeing the sun. This is very important, the next paragraph. They turned on themselves. They turned on themselves means they stood very closely to each other. They packed themselves very closely to each other. Why? To have a better view of the sun. Like a feverish wheel. Now these children are compared to a feverish wheel, means wheel which is moving uncontrollably. The old style bullock carts, wheel you can imagine, which have that spokes, etc. So the children are compared to those wheels who are talking, they are chirping, they are uncontrolled, their excitement is uncontrolled. All tumbling spokes, and these children were similar to the spokes of the wheel, the cart or the rims of the wheel, I would say. Important, this is again a simile. Margot stood alone. She was standing alone there. She was a very frail girl. Frail means very weak. Now this is the description of Margot, very helpful to write the character sketch of Margot, who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years. Now she looked so worn out, so pale, that it seemed that the rain had washed away her color. And the rain had washed out, you can use this in your character sketch, blue from her eyes. Her eyes had become colorless. The blue color had vanished. The red from her mouth. Her blush had gone away. And the yellow from her hair. So that color of her hair had lost that yellow tinge. She was an old photograph dusted from an album. Now she was looking like a photograph which was dusted from an album. Now in this, I would say, an old photograph, her condition was so much withered out because of the lack of sun that she looked like a dusted photograph. So the dusted photograph is a metaphor. Please note down these figures of speech because this is going to help you later. Dusted from an album, whitened away, lost her color, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. Means her voice would be like that of a ghost. She had lost that sweetness from her voice. Again, her voice is called of that of a ghost, so it is a metaphor. Now she stood, separate, again alienated, staring at the rain and the love. Why do you think she was alienated? She was alienated because she had memories of sun. She related to the concepts of sun. She felt that there was lack of something in her life because of the absence of sun. But other children were used to rainfall and they did not like the quietness, the aloof kind of attitude of the girl. Therefore, she was not liked by everybody and she was alienated. Staring at the rain and loud wet world beyond the huge glass. So they all, she stood there, she was looking out, looking from the glass that there was a world, there was incessant rain. Now see, loud wet world. This is the phrase used for planet Venus. You can use in your subjective answers. What are you looking at? Said William. So William asks, what are you looking at? Margot said nothing. She did not respond. She did not conversate with these children. She did not relate to them. Speak when you are spoken to. Now, he speaks in a very harsh tone of a bully. He has become somebody who is lacking human feelings. Why? Because sun is not there. They have become as heartless, as lifeless as the planet Venus. He gave her a shove. Shove means he pushed her. But she did not move. She was not moved. Means she did not move in emotions. She was not moved at all. Rather, she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. Means only his physical touch had moved him a bit, nothing else. They edged away from her. The children moved away from her, shifted away from her. They would not look at her. They didn't look at her because they didn't relate to her. Now this paragraph is important if they ask you that why do you think the girl was hated by everyone, or they did not relate to her, or why did they alienate her. So this paragraph is going to serve as an answer. So she felt them go away, and this was because she would play no games with them. So she did not play with them, hence she was not liked. In the echoing tunnels of the underground city, echoing tunnels in the underground schools and buildings made of the underground city of the planet Venus, where there was no life above earth, everything was underground. So you see how people were living there. If they tagged her and ran, so if they were playing catch and run and they tagged her, they touched her and ran away, she stood blinking after them. She did not, play. She was not joyful. She was not an active child. She had become inactive, lifeless. She stood blinking there and did not follow. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, her lips barely moved. If children were, doing things which children generally do, she would not participate. Why? Because lack of sun had made her dejected. She was feeling melancholic because of lack of sun. Only when they sang about the sun and the summer did her lips move as she watched the drenched windows. So only when about the sun they used to talk, she used to talk about it, she used to participate, and she used to look at the windows which are thickly covered with rainwater. And then of course, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth. And the biggest mistake of her life was, or biggest thing that she had done wrong to be alienated by them was that she had come here only 5 years ago. So she came 5 years ago. Means 4 years later than the other children from Earth. And she remembered the sun and the way the sun was and the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio. So this Ohio, you should know where she had come from. She had come from Ohio when she was 4 years old. And they had been on Venus all their lives. So these children, forever they were on planet Venus. They had no memories of sun. And they had been only 2 years old when last the sun came out. Means these children had witnessed sun when they were 2 years old and had long since forgotten the color and heat of it. So they could not recall the experience of feeling the sun and the way it really was. But Margot remembered. But her mistake was that she remembered all such things. "It is like a penny," she said once, eyes closed. Now once, when her eyes were shut, she said she compared the sun to a penny, small coin I would say. "No, it's not," the children said. The children cried out that no, it is not like a penny. "It's like a fire," again a simile for sun. "It's like fire in the stove." "You are lying. You don't remember," said the children. So they were not able to accept that she had memories of sun. She had experiences, she had privileges in comparison to the other children. Henceforth she was disliked. Again the reason, she was not liked by children. But she remembered and stood quietly apart from all of them and watched the patterning windows. Patterning, now when rainfall falls, if it falls in a sequence, it makes patterns on the window panes. So they are talking about those patterns. And once, a month ago, she had refused to shower in the school when school shower rooms had clutched her hands to her ears and over her head. Now she was so fed up of rainfall that once she even refused to take bath. She said that she just held her ears, she closed her ears and she held herself, screaming the water must not touch her head. She screamed that the water should not touch her body. She was so fed up of rainfall or water. So after that, dimly she sensed it. She was different and they knew her difference and kept away. So both sides had understood that they were different. They had some differences, henceforth they maintained distance. There was a talk that her father, now this is again another reason that why she was hated. There was a talk that her father and mother were taking her back to Earth next year. It seemed vital to her that they do so, though it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family. Now, as she was going to be taken to the planet Earth again, her family had planned that. Hence, the children again felt that she was privileged, and so the children hated her for all these reasons of big and little consequence. They hated her, underline, pale snow face. They did not like her pale snow face, her waiting silence, her, never ending silence, her thinness, her, very slim body and her possible future and the future that she was going to witness, that she was going to go to earth. Get away, the boy gave her another push. He again pushes her. What are you waiting for? He asks her, what are you waiting here for? Then, for the first time, she turned and looked at him. She looks at the boy, and what she was waiting for was in her eyes. Now, she had brightness in her eyes. Why? Because now she was positive enough that sun was going to come out. Hence, that positivity could be seen in her eyes. Waiting for was in her eyes means he could see brightness in her eyes. Well, don't wait around here, cried the boy savagely. Means in an uncontrolled manner, he said, don't wait here. You won't see anything. You're not going to witness anything. Her lips moved. Nothing? He cried. It was all a joke, wasn't it? So he's misleading the girl. He's trying to take revenge. Now, innocent minds are corrupted because of lack of sun. Sun, it is a harbinger of life. Sun is very important force in human life. Therefore, lack of it had even corrupted the innocent beings, that is children. He turned to the other children. Nothing's happening today, is it? Now all of them become partners in crime. All of them were anti-Margot and they started misleading her. They all blinked at him and then understanding, means they had that mutual understanding that they are going to just play upon the girl, laughed and shook their heads. So they agreed that nothing is happening. Nothing. Oh, but now Margot, who never used to respond because it was a concept of sun, because it was related to sun, she says, oh, but Margot whispered, her eyes helpless. Again, her eyes had that expression of helplessness. But this is the day the scientists predict. They say, they know the sun. But she says that scientists have predicted that this is the day when the sun is going to appear. All a joke. So they shunned her. They said, it's all a joke, said the boy and seized her roughly. Means he just got rid of her roughly, blunt way. Hey, everyone, let's put her in a closet before the teacher comes. Now see, they are going to badly treat her. They are going to close her into a closet. They don't want her to see the sun. They want to take revenge from her. No, said Margot, falling back. She shows some kind of protest, that vehement kind of protest. They surged about her. Means they stood around her, caught her up and bore her. Bore her means they held her against all the resistance that she was showing, protesting and then pleading and then crying. So she tried to protest back into a tunnel. Now see, there is a comparison. How earlier when the boy gave her a push, she never retaliated. But now she was going to miss the sight of the sun. Therefore she retaliates. She's pushing, she's protesting, she's pleading, she's crying back into a tunnel. They pushed her to a tunnel, took her to the room, closed her into the closet where they slammed and locked the door. They shut forcibly the door and she was behind the closet now. They stood looking at the door and saw it tremble from her beating and throwing herself against it. She was protesting. The doors, they were trembling because of her protest. They heard her muffled cries. Means their hearts were not moved even when the girl was showing protest. Even when she was, making those muffled cries, means those cries which are wrapped in some suppressed tones. Means in very suppressed manner she was crying. Then, smiling, his children got pleasure from her suffering. This shows their evil, characteristic. They turned and went out and back down the tunnel. So they again went to the tunnel where they were going to see the sun, just as the teacher arrived. And then the teacher arrives there. Ready, children? She glanced at her watch. So she looked at her watch because there was a certain time, of course, that was predicted for the sun to appear. Yes, said everyone. Are we all here? She asked that, is everyone here? Everybody says yes. The rain slacked still more, means it slowed down still more. They crowded to the huge door. Now everybody was standing in front of the huge door from where they could escape and go to the ground, open place. Imagine life with, behind certain, door. You are not allowed to go out for 7 years, and after 7 years only you'll be allowed to move out. It would be so depressing. The rain stopped. It was as if. Now this is important, this paragraph. Why? Because it answers to the question that when the sun was going to appear, what is the scene exactly compared to, or how is the scene described by the writer? It was as if. Now how is the scene compared? It seemed as if in the midst of a film, means in the middle of a film which was concerning an avalanche, means a mass of snow which was falling from the mountains, a tornado, a hurricane, a volcanic eruption, means something, a movie which was related to something very much violent. Something had first gone wrong with the sound apparatus. Something went wrong with the sound apparatus. Why? Because thus muffling and finally cutting off all noise. If something very violent is going to happen, what is going to be there? A lot of noise. So it seemed as if something went wrong with the sound apparatus, and the muffling and finally cutting. That first the sounds were, lowered a bit, and then it was cut off completely. The noise was cut off. All of the blasts and repercussions and thunders. So all the blasts and thunders and the outcomes of wars and whatever violent was happening in that film. And then second, that all that stopped, and second thing that happened, ripped the film from the projector, and it seemed that reel of that film was removed from the projector and inserted in its place a beautiful tropical slide, and in place of it somebody had played a movie or a slide which was about tropical things or a tropical scene. Tropical scene means greenery, where there is vegetation, where there is life, where there is blooming of flowers, etc., etc. Where there is calmness, no violence, no incessant rainfall, nothing. Temperatures which suit or which favor the vegetation throughout the year. That kind of slide which did not move or tremor. There was stillness in that slide. The world ground to a standstill. It seemed that the never-ending rain had now witnessed a complete silence, standstill. The silence was so immense, it was so never-ending and unbelievable that you felt your ears had been stuffed or you had lost your hearing altogether. Now to these people who were caught in that rainfall and that drum and gush of rainfall for so many years, 7 years, for them it seemed something had gone wrong with their hearing power. It seemed that something had been stuffed into their ears, henceforth they were not able to hear anything. The children put their hands to their ears, means they tried to close their ears as if something had gone wrong. They stood apart. They were standing at a distance. The door slid back, means it moved back. It was open basically, and the smell of the silent waiting world came into them. They could smell the aroma of the earth. They could feel that the world was so beautiful outside. The sun came out, and finally the sun, which was being waited for since so long, comes out. This is part 1 of this chapter. You can complete it. I hope you enjoyed this. We will begin with the next part tomorrow. Till then, stay tuned. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye-bye.